Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to Tripp Talks. This is the show where I interview successful e commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story, and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start to grow their businesses. And today I'm really excited to welcome Max Perez to the show. Max is the founder of xSuit. xSuit is the world's most comfortable suit made with premium stretch fabric and many technical features that address all the age-old problems with suits. And today I'm going to ask Max a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to start to grow his business. So, Max, thank you so much for joining me today at Trip Talks. I really, really appreciate you sharing your time with me today.
Likewise, Sushant, it's a pleasure meeting you and looking forward to chatting.
Yeah. So, very interesting idea, very interesting product. And it seems like you're kind of, uh, I don't know, would you call it disrupting the suit market, or is this kind of like a new trend, a new idea on a very traditional product? How do you describe this product? And then definitely want to know how you came up with the idea and how you got started.
Sure. Yeah. So the product itself, I guess, was a compilation of many things, including personal experience and kind of what I was doing before. But yeah, to say disrupting, I would say that is disrupting the suit market. I came from a corporate environment. I worked in an office for a very long time, and everybody's wearing suits in an office. However, I feel that the suiting industry has had the least amount of change comparative to other garments in the fashion industry. So I feel like, especially after COVID, but even before then, I feel a lot of offices were going more and more casual. However, not every single industry has the opportunity to go fully casual. However, COVID did help to kind of propel that a little bit more since people were working from home. But like I said, the suiting industry didn't have a big revolution, like for example, sportswear did, brands like Lululemon and so on. And given that I had to wear suits all the time, and I felt the pain points, I'm sure that many people do when wearing a suit. And the main reason why people are wearing suits less and less, which has to do with just comfort. So suits are just they're known to be not the most comfortable garment you could wear, comparative of course to your sweatpants, even jeans, added spandex and so on. Pretty much all the other garments out there have gone towards being stretchier, being more comfortable and so on, at the exception of suits. So you do have a lot of brands that say their suits are stretch. They put 3-4% spandex in them. However, that's such a small amount, and you don't really feel it. And yeah, like I said, I was working in an office in a corporate company in marketing, and we had to wear suits every day. And I pretty much hated every moment of it. I think the first thing I was doing when I was coming home was removing my suit and switching it out for something more comfortable. My background is in fashion design. I always kind of knew I wanted to start a fashion brand. I just didn't know what exactly. And I always felt, based on what I was doing in my past job, that if you are to create a brand and a product, the most important thing to do is to fix a problem, right? You should solve a problem, find a problem and fix it. And, that should be the core mantra of your brand. So, like I said, a compilation of everything, coming from a fashion background, wearing suits, knowing suits are uncomfortable. That was how the idea came to me. I've done extensive research on suits in general, and bought 15, 20 samples of suits that call themselves stretch suits. And I didn't find any of them had that comfort level. And that's how the idea came to me. I was just like, hey, why don't I create that super stretchy suit? So that's how we started. This was in 2016. So at that point, I quit my last job and focused solely on building this product. It took about a year. I was testing a whole bunch of fabrics because something that's a bit different from suits with normal garments is they do have to have a certain appearance. You don't want to create something using like a Nike nylon fabric that's kind of like flimsy. It still needs to look like a suit, right? You're taking it to the office. There's a certain perception of how a suit should look in a work environment. So it was just testing a bunch of fabrics, seeing which one fits the best still looking formal, however, giving you all that comfort that you get from your sportswear. And at that point, I started to get into some more fabric technologies. I was doing a lot of research on what other kind of technological advancements I could add to this suit. And that's when I started to get acquainted with nanotechnology, which started to become more and more popular. And I was thinking to have that added into our product to make it, odor-proof, stain-proof, wrinkle-resistant, just to complete the idea of what I was trying to build here, which was, a no-maintenance, comfortable suit. So comfort in both the physicalness of it and also comfort in terms of, the garment being comfortable to maintain and not having to take care of the garment where, the garment owns you, but on the opposite where, the garment alleviates stress from you.
So seems like the main innovation or the main the new thing here is really the fabric, right? In terms of when you bring a new fabric to the market for this industry, did you do some sort of a market validation, or was it enough that the suit looked like a traditional suit or functioned like a traditional suit that you were confident that when you bring this product to the market, people are going to buy it? Or did you do some sort of a market research to understand that this suit will likely be more targeted towards a younger audience and who's going more for the comfort rather than the traditional fabric and so forth?
Yeah, so 100%, yes, we did do extensive market research, and actually it was split up into three parts. The first one, when it came to market research, was actually what you touched on, is demographic. So who are we selling the suit to? Ironically, a lot of people believe, like you just mentioned, that this was made for younger people. But upon doing market research at the beginning, before launching this product, we are in the business of making money like any other company is, and we wanted to make sure that the product had a perfect fit with the market. And ironically, after doing extensive market research, it was not the young people that we were going after, because we were looking for people who were buying suits regularly, wearing them regularly as well. And that's not a young demographic. People wearing and buying suits every day are usually going to be a bit older, working in certain industries that have been around for a long time, financial, engineering, architects, and so on and so forth. And also, mind you, based on the price point of our product, as we did spend quite a lot of money creating this product, we had to price it at a certain kind of mid-range price point. And given all of that, we actually came to the conclusion that it was not for the a younger demographic. Younger demographic normally are looking for cheap things, easily accessible, and they don't feel the pain points because they haven't really worn suits for 10 years, 15 years, and so on, right? So they're fresh off out of school. They're just trying to get their hands on the cheapest suit possible to either get an interview and a job or so on and so forth. So actually, our demographic is ironically a little bit more the mid-age men. I would say starting at 35 and going all the way to 55. And those are really the people that, feel the pain point of a suit much more, as they've already worn a suit for 5 to 20 years potentially. So that market research actually came back around to giving us, the confidence with moving forward with creating a suit for an older demographic. In terms of the actual product, like I mentioned to you, the first part there was doing a competition analysis, seeing who's out there, who the big players are there anybody out there doing the same kind of product or similarly, buying all their samples, analyzing it, and comparing, what we want to do to what is already being done out there, and making sure that we surpass every single brand out there when it comes to the comfort of the product. The last point, which you've touched on, is also something that we spent quite a lot of time doing, which is validating the product by, creating 20, 30, 40 sample sets and sending them out to various people all over the world, friends, families, even getting contacts from friends and families of not necessarily people that I know personally, but people that wear suits and buy suits, buy three, maybe 2-3 suits a year, and that are wearing suits maybe 4 or 5 times a week. So those were the people we were the most interested by. And I truly believe that that is something very important, conducting a focus group, conducting a test group, especially when your product is hitting a new segment. So, if your brand is all about taking a product out there and simply making it cheaper, the product already has market fit, it's already has market validation, you might not need to go through that, or you might choose to forego it because essentially you're just copying something that's out there and just trying to make it cheaper for the mass market. However, when you are marketing a new product, like you said, with an innovative fabric, the first of its kind, and so on, products of the kind, I always do see having extensive testing done with real life people, and especially people that are unbiased. Not your wife or your best friend or your partner, but going a little bit as far out as you can, people that don't have necessarily relationships with you, that can give you kind of a straight up, very honest opinion.
Definitely. I mean, I'm on your website and I'm looking at the suit, and even before I looked at it, and it seemed like kind of a no-brainer for me to purchase this, because it seemed like it's kind of you don't have to be so careful with like similar to a traditional suit. You can wear it. You can you can treat it as kind of a low maintenance kind of a thing, whereas still it seems like it will maintain its shape, and it will look professional and presentable. What is the catch here? So why do you think that the traditional suit is kind of obsolete now with this kind of with this kind of fabric coming into the market? Is this superior to the traditional suit? Or is this this is meant for certain circumstances, whereas a person would still own a traditional suit and they would use it more for like a very formal occasion, while this one is more for like a daily usage kind of a thing?
So listen, we have around 50,000 customers to date. I've interviewed about 300-400 of them personally, and I'm interacting with them consistently through customer service and so on. Our demographic are definitely a little bit more of a higher end one. People who can afford buying expensive suits and have bought expensive suits. And a comment that I keep seeing coming back to us from customers who are buying namesake brands like Armani and D&G and so on, often say, I cannot wear another suit after wearing yours. And it's not because your suit is the most premium, the most luxurious, and so on and so forth. It's just because it's well made and it's the most comfortable I've ever worn. And after getting used to wearing your suit, xSuit, it just becomes extremely hard to going back to a classic suit. So to answer your question, yes, I definitely think that this is where the industry will be heading. It's very hard for our competitions when you look at like the big companies out there like Hugo Boss or Suit Supply, which are doing from Suit Supply maybe $500 million in revenue to Hugo Boss in the billions of dollars. It's very hard for them to suddenly shift their entire product strategy overnight, as they have such a stable customer base, and they're essentially running the Titanic. So to turn the Titanic takes a lot of effort. It's not an overnight decision. So I do believe that this is where the industry is going to head towards. I believe that over the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see more and more of these products. We are on the precipice, and at the head, we have the head start here. We're hoping to gain enough market share that we become that namesake brand that's known for having created this product. But I do believe, yes, over time, you're going to see more and more brands switching over to similar fabrics than what we're using in our suit, as it just makes logical sense. I mean, if you have an option between buying, think of it today, Levi's and all these jean companies for the longest time were using these rigid, tough jean fabrics, where today I don't see anybody buying jeans that don't have spandex stretch in it, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that over a certain amount of time, it just makes sense that, most suit brands out there are going to want to switch towards these kind of stretchy fabrics, as that's what the customer is going to want from these products, as time goes by.
In terms of fit, traditional suits have been always associated, the general fashion advice, I guess, is, you get a custom made suit, right? If you're buying a, already pre-made suit, the fitting is not right and you have to get it custom made and things like that. And of course, on your webpage, it seems like, people can select the jacket size, they can select the pant waist and length, and it seems like a pretty straightforward process. Is there a certain aspect of getting a custom made suit in this fabric also? Or is it you're really making the process simple for the consumer that, the jacket size, the pant size they're selecting, because this is kind of a stretchy material, this will kind of uh, fit to the contour of the body, regardless of, uh, different people's body shapes and so forth.
So a few points to touch on here. First of all, one that you just made is extremely relevant to the brand. The fact that the fabric is so stretchy, you can get away with a lot. Actually, you can get away with even wearing a slimmer suit, which most men would prefer to, but choose not to because, not everybody is built super skinny and has like that model type body. And also due to fabrics being that constraining in general, that's something that a lot of men will forego to be comfortable. So the fact that our suit is so stretchy, it really helps to kind of not feel, if ever you want to go a size down, you want to look like the suit is more tailored, we're able to supersede that issue. Now, when it comes to actually sizing the garment, we've continuously optimized the fit based on our demographic feedback and so on we get from customers. We've expanded our sizing range over time, where today we have around, I would say, 24 sizes in the jacket and another 24 sizes in the pant. We are doubling those sizes next year. So that'll become 48 sizes in the jacket and 48 sizes of the pants. And something that you need to understand about made to measure, specifically when you're looking at mid-priced, like made to measure suits, so not bespoke, but brands you're buying for $300, $400, $500, $600 a made to measure suit. It is not actually made to measure. The way that their model works is that they still have patterns like we do. So they'll have 30, 40 patterns. And when you are customizing your size, they are essentially taking that pattern and adjusting it directly on the pattern. Bespoke, where suits start to get in the $1,000 plus range, and I would say even $1,000 hard to find, probably $2,000 plus, is where that is really made to measure. They are literally building the suit on your body. Now, I don't know if you've had the experience of getting a bespoke suit made, but you'll see the tailor is literally draping the fabric over your body, and that is true made to measure. So the fact that we've created that many patterns, that many size options, we are very close to a made to measure suit brand, with the only advantage being that we can get the suit out to you within 2 days. Whereas a made to measure, you need to deal with the headache of going on the website, answering a billion questions, potentially getting a suit that I would say would need a remake, having to wait 2 weeks for that suit, getting it in, and then noticing some minor issues, having to send it back, having it, further tailored and sent back and forth. So it's just a much more cumbersome, experience from start to finish. Additionally, we've created an AI sizing module on our website, where instead of having to even measure yourself or try to figure out what your size is, you simply answer 5 questions, something very basic like your height, your weight. Based on your height and weight, our AI module can kind of determine how your body avatar would look like. Either you are more top heavy, more bottom heavy, you get shown 3 very basic images. You choose one of those. Same thing goes for your bottom. You have a bigger butt, smaller butt, and so on. And then based on those 5 questions, we can pretty much hit 90% accuracy on that. Currently, our exchange rate is about 4%, which is extremely low. So, we're pretty much able to nail sizes based on that AI module. And we think that we've kind of cracked the code at the suit sizing online. You can go through our thousands of reviews. Actually, I just sent out a survey to our top 1,000 customers the other day, and we've gotten 97% response rate saying that the fit is amazing, and it actually surprised them that a suit ordered online and off the rack could fit that well. So I think that we figured out the sizing based on our demographic. Like I mentioned, we are expanding that next year. We are doubling the amount of sizes. And the reason being that we're offering another type of fit as well in all the same sizes and sleeve lengths. And it's something for me that I give great importance to. As you've mentioned, I think that's something that everybody buying a suit worries the most about, right? Where a t-shirt, if it's a couple centimeters off, it's fine, it's a t-shirt, but I think a suit is something, a shirt, something tailored. You want to make sure that it fits you right. And it's something that we are continuously spending time to optimize and improve upon and, add sizes and so on.
Awesome. In terms of your business model, I'm assuming this is purely direct to consumer e-commerce business. And can you share a little bit around, do you start out with creating an inventory of suits based on different sizes that you ship out? I'm assuming, these suits are created in China. Are these like machine made? Are these man made? And then basically you stock them within different geographies and fulfill the orders. Is that how your business works?
Yeah, so it is direct to consumer, and the reason being that we are trying to control the price that our customers are paying. So the suit does cost a lot to make. You mentioned something earlier about the fabric being the only innovation we do on the suit. However, the construction of the suit is also has been innovated as well. So we do not stitch the garment together. It is taped together, which is a new fabrication process that's only been around for 5 to 10 years, and we are the first and only suit brand that tapes their suit together. And the reason being that it helps us to control sizing, so we have less discrepancy than you would on a regular cut and sewed suit. All our panels are laser cut, so they're cut to the millimeter close, as opposed to other suit brands cutting them with a electric knife, piling 10, 30, 40, 50 levels of fabric and cutting it, and then you'll get that kind of discrepancy. So that's where from one garment to another, you'll have that discrepancy. We laser cut every single panel and glue it together. When it comes to manufacturing, yes, of course, the garment is made in China. They actually have some of the best manufacturing in the world today. Things like even your iPhone are made here. And we don't think that this garment could be made anywhere else but here. When it started with production, our first batch we did release on Kickstarter. We sold some 2,500 suits on Kickstarter, and we had the advantage of being able to ask our customers before even shipping them a suit what their sizes were. And based on that, that is how we ordered our initial sizing set. Based on that information, that ratio, and how we continuously optimize it is through feedback from our clients to this date. So, we do have a very special manufacturing process similar to Apple. It's kind of called ready in time. So we order all our raw materials. They're all at the factory. They're ready 6 months ahead of time. So we hold about 6 months worth of raw materials in the supplier, in our factory, and we negotiate terms with our supplier where instead of following a traditional model of ordering, which is essentially following the seasonality of the product, normally fashion brands will order twice a year. They hit that spring, summer, and that fall, winter. And that's where they'll order, a large amount of pieces that will last them 6 months. Now, we run the model a little bit differently. We actually follow some other big brands like Suit Supply, which is, first of all, we ship directly from China to our end user. So we do not need to boat the goods over to America, wasting another 40 days on the boat. We just ship directly from our factory straight to our end user. And what that allows us to do is that we can essentially split our order process on a monthly basis. So as opposed to ordering twice a year, we order on a monthly basis. We link our inventory system with our factory, and every month we update the supplier in terms of what he needs to produce for the next month. So it's hyper optimizable in that regards. So if we see this month, for whatever reason, these sizes and these colors sold more, we know what we're going to order next month. That way we can control inventory very well. And we don't need to overstock anything and then be left with, an overstock at the end of the year. So this is another area, operationally where we continuously optimize the supply chain to make sure, again, because our product costs so much to make, and due to, like I described, the fusing manufacturing process, it renders our garment to be made much slower. So essentially, one of our suits, you could make 3 suits of Hugo Boss or Suit Supply. To answer another question of yours, all garments are handmade. There are very little garments today that are machine made, except maybe some 3D tubular sweaters. But in general, pretty much all garments have to be handmade, especially suits. There are a lot of difficult areas of a suit that can only be made by hand, putting on the sleeve and things of the kind. So due to all these intricacies, making sure the supply chain is well set up is very important, and it is something else that we spend a lot of time optimizing.
Are you shipping all over the globe, or is this mostly North America? I mean, one thing I believe you mentioned was you can ship, or you can fulfill the order within 2 days. If an item is shipping from China, does that involve like a high shipping cost, or how does that work? Because I'm sure many other companies would want to fulfill directly from China, right? Wouldn't that cut costs?
So one thing that we've done over time is we've cut the amount of countries we ship to. So at the beginning, when we started the brand, we were shipping to 50 countries. And what we realized is by shipping to more and more countries, your rates are not great, right? So the best, like everything in the world, it's all about bulk. So the more you can do of one thing, the cheaper it becomes. So over time, we went from shipping to 50 countries. So I believe today we ship to 7 countries, 8 countries. We've cut that down. We believe focus is very important here. And, I would say about 80% of our business is between the United States and Canada. So we were able to negotiate quite some good rates with our shipping partners. Now, of course, that also has to do with the quantities we ship per month. Continuously growing the quantity gives us better rates year over year. Another thing to mention in regards to other brands wanting to ship things directly from China. So the only issue here, it really has to do with 2 things. First of all, the average order value. So if you're selling something that costs $20, $30, it'll be impossible to do this from here, except if you are willing to sacrifice, number 2, the time to deliver the item. So there are companies like DHL e-commerce, which can offer you incredibly low shipping rates. However, the caveat is the timeline, right? So they might need up to 14 days to deliver the goods. So this is how most of the items on AliExpress are being shipped, especially when you're talking about cheaper items.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you want to be able to offer that kind of premium service where somebody orders and they get their goods within 2 to 4 days, maximum 5 days if there's a delay, you'll want to use DHL, UPS, or FedEx. And then it starts to become costly. They do have a minimum shipping charge. I believe it's around $25, no matter what you're shipping, even if it's a half a kilo, and then it grows, based on the kilos. So this is only advantageous, in my opinion, if you are selling more expensive products. So we're looking at products that are being sold at $200 plus. Then it would make sense. If you're selling cheap stuff, either using DHL e-commerce and having the customer wait 2 weeks, or shipping it by boat and dispatching it locally in the US is probably what makes the most sense.
I believe you said your background is fashion, right? Your education background is fashion, but of course now you are in business, running your own business. You're an entrepreneur, and I mean, to me, it seems like a very sharp entrepreneur. Would you consider yourself to be an entrepreneurial person? Like, how did you, or was it that you had this idea and passion, and then you learned everything on the go, and that just the idea that you had to bring this product to market drove you to figure things out as you went?
So it's a combination of many things. It starts off with the education I got at home. So my father was an entrepreneur, and he actually, my whole father's family are all entrepreneurs. They all ran businesses, from clothing businesses to all kinds of different businesses. And it was kind of a mentality that was instilled upon us from a very young age. So my father believed that, you should run whatever it is you do in life, and it doesn't matter what industry, you should aim to always, start something of your own and not be working for somebody else. So that was something that was just, pushed by my father, that ideology from a very young age. So he highlighted, it doesn't matter what you do. You can be a plumber, you can be an artist, you can be a financial advisor. It really doesn't matter. But at a certain point in your life, you should aim to have your own business, to do it on your own, to run it by your own. So that's where it started originally. When I first joined, actually, when I started working, the first job I had was working for my brother. So my brother had quite a successful company working in fashion trading. So he was manufacturing for a lot of luxury fashion brands. And that's where I got my first experience. And then the following job, which I was working in, was marketing. In between, by the way, those two jobs, that's when I was studying fashion design. I studied at a fashion school before joining the other company I worked for, which was a marketing/PR company. I was very close with the owner of that company. He built it to quite a large. I mean, when I started, it was just a startup. I think they were a few years in business, and in the end, we grew exponentially fast. We're working with companies like Bacardi Group and Diageo and so on, a lot of alcohol brands, and we went from being like a 10-person team to a 250-person company within 6 years. I was very close with the boss, and I was not a partner in the company, but kind of viewed as a partner. So I had a lot of deciding power in the company, as I was part of the reason why we grew that aggressively, me and the other 3-4 people that started the company. So I was always around kind of and influenced by company owners. And, in both businesses, as much as I was not the actual owner, I kind of was given the responsibility of an owner, if you will, decision making and so on. And, the last aspect here, given that I always had, a huge interest in clothing, I loved clothing from a very young age, buying, wearing clothing, following trends and so on. That is the reason why I went to study fashion. I just always knew that was what I would end up doing. To add in another caveat to what my father said regarding working for yourself, he did, however, also say that you should be working for others before you start something of your own to gain some kind of experience, right? Mm-hmm. So you should go and learn on someone else's dollar. Obviously something that is related to, in the end, what you would like to do. Not that can't change over time, but ideally something that is related to what you'd like to do later on, which is exactly what I did. So I worked with my brother. He works in fashion manufacturing. I got to learn a lot about the supply chain side of things. And then I worked in that other marketing PR agency where I was doing a lot of sales, a lot of marketing strategy, and a lot of creative direction. That was my main role in the company. And then upon starting my own business, I think the most important thing that I still to this day, by the way, spend the most time learning on is leadership and financials. So I think that as a business owner, these are kind of the two, I wouldn't say the most important, everything is important in running a business, but I think two very important things for business owners are leadership as well as financials, cash flow. Cash flow is super important in a business to sustain it. So it was a combination of many different things that got me where I'm here today.
Can you talk a little bit about working in China or working in the Chinese environment, having this manufacturing in China, working with Chinese team members? How did you find the factory? Was it, did you already knew? Did you have contacts? And what is it like working there? I mean, did you learn Chinese language, or how easy or difficult is it to work there now? And would you have any advice for any new e-commerce business who wants to work in China? What is the best way to find the right manufacturers or partners to work with, and to make it a successful business?
So I'm a very bad example. And I don't think, what I'm about to say will help many people, but, my father's been in China for 40 years. He's been manufacturing in China for over 40 years, and he's opened factories here. When I was getting into university and I wanted to study fashion, my father was not very happy with that. I was originally supposed to go into medicine. That's what my parents kind of grew me towards. And, when university came around, I told them honestly that was not what I wanted to do. So they were slightly disappointed. And my father at that point was spending a lot of time in China. He had his company here. And he pushed me to come here to see China. he said China's the future, and he wanted me to come and see it for myself. So he kind of not forced me, but advised me to come here and learn the language. So before I actually started my studies in fashion design, I came and did a bachelor and undergrad in Chinese language. So I learned Chinese. I read, write, and speak Chinese fluently.
Wow.
And why I'm saying my experience won't help a lot of people is because a lot of what I do today, a lot of the factories I met, a lot of what I was able to achieve in China was mainly due to the fact that I speak the language. And I was, inside the culture on a level that I think most foreigners wouldn't be able to. So I think that that is the main reason why I was able to come here, develop the network that I did, and the relationships I did with my suppliers. If I was to give advice to somebody who would like to come to China, the first thing that I would give, what I would tell them is for you to actually come here. I would never do business with another country without actually coming in the country, meeting people, seeing the people culturally, how they are, understanding how they think, right? Especially as, if you are building a product, I think that that's one of the most important thing in the business is making sure that your product is of top quality, and that, you have the support of your supplier so that as you scale, the supplier can help you to scale. And to do that properly, I think that it is best for you to be here in person to a certain extent. I don't mean here, moving here, but I mean coming as often as you can, building that relationship with your supplier. And in the end, you have to remember that building a company is kind of building an external family, whether it's your employees, whether it's your suppliers. You want to have that kind of good relationship with everybody you're working with so that it becomes more pleasant and people are willing to help you when you have, issues down the line. So yeah, number one would be definitely coming here and getting to know the people that you want to partner with for the long term. There is a alternative to that, and it is finding a trading company. So somebody like my brother, who's an intermediate, who they can help you with that relationship building, and essentially you're working through them. So they have the experience finding the suppliers here. That is another option. It's not easy manufacturing products. I think that if you're creating something, you're not just buying some drop shipping items that have been made for the last 10 years, but if you're really trying to create something from zero, I think it is quite hard. And oftentimes, one of the reasons that cash flow, why a lot of companies fail is that they don't, they think too much about the sample, the branding, the creatives, and not enough about the supply chain. So, understanding the manufacturing process, and having your pulse on your suppliers, I think is something quite important if you want to create a successful product and a successful business in general. And yeah, so just to go back on that, just making sure that you do have good relationships with your partner, your suppliers, whoever they may be. I think that that's one of the most important things out there. Now, again, like I said, I'm very biased. I speak the language. I've been here. I'm best friends with all my factories. They help me beyond belief. They help me carry over payments if ever I need to. They help me cut lines and get my product out quicker, even though they have other people's products on their line. If I ever need that, they would help as well. They help me control the quality as much as I have my own internal quality control team, because I'm friends with them. They'll pay extra attention to my products. They'll give me terms that, I think a lot of suppliers wouldn't give their customers without these kind of relationships. Like I have a warranty on my products with my factory. So, if within a year anything falls apart in the customer's hand, they will take back and refund me that product. So these kind of things are very hard to do if you don't have a basic relationship with your supplier.
That's awesome. I mean, it seems almost like, your entire, beginning of your life, you were preparing for getting the business started. Can you talk a little bit about marketing? So, you got your first customers through crowdfunding. What has worked since then in terms of educating the market? Because this is a new concept, so of course I'm assuming there's some sort of an education that has to occur, and in terms of generating awareness and interest in this product. Yeah, can you share what has worked since the beginning and what's working now in terms of customer acquisition, in terms of um, bringing in new customers?
Yeah, so I think the fact that we have a very different product, not much competition, a value proposition that is easy to understand, all these things just made it, a product that sells itself, right? Which is essentially what you should be looking for when starting a brand. So in the end, I think the most important aspect when it comes to marketing for our brand specifically has to do with content and advertising. I think that still today, if you speak to many brands doing anywhere from $5 to $50 million or $100 million a year of revenue, they'll all agree that advertising and content are going to be the heavy lifting for any brand. Now, of course, you want to make sure your product has a market fit, like we spoke earlier about. You want to make sure the quality of the product is top notch, again, like we covered earlier. And the remainder should be really focused on, given that you're selling online, the visual aesthetic of the brand, whether it be photography on the website, whether it be the video content that you are running through your ads. This is where we probably spend the most amount of time, is producing content. We have like a full content production team pumping out whatever it is, 30, 40, 50 pieces of content a month. And then just making sure that you have a good ad buyer who can diffuse this content as efficiently as possible. And the rest, is just the little final connecting blocks, like things like having customer reviews. So when people come on your website, they can, read what other people's opinions are on the product. And everything else, I think, is just little add-ons. Whether it be PR, email marketing, affiliate marketing, all these kind of things are just nice little extra things to do. But I still believe the heavy lifting, especially as you're scaling towards $20-25 million in revenue, which I think a lot of people are very far from. It's really going to be your ad content, your video content, and your advertising, specifically on Facebook, Meta.
What is your goal with this business, or how big do you think that the potential of this business is? And is your goal for this business really to continue to add additional products with similar kind of fabric to continue growing it, or you really want to focus it more on the suit itself?
So my goal, I have a big vision. I always have big dreams. So I see myself as becoming the Apple of the fashion industry down the line. I have some super ambitious goal, but to be honest with you, they are kind of confidential. So I prefer not to release them on this kind of video. However, when it comes to garments, yes, I do plan to apply this kind of technology to everything that's out there. We've already done briefcases. We launched a briefcase on Kickstarter about a month ago. We've had some good success on that. We do shirts, we do belts, we do ties. All these things have technological applications to them. The belt is a self-clipping belt, so you don't have to worry about little holes and dinky things of the kind. The tie is completely wrinkle water resistant, obviously, like the suit. Same thing with the shirt. I'm planning to expand towards shoes as well. That bag collection will expand over time, suitcases and things of the kind. So yes, we are planning to grow the brand both horizontally and vertically. The suit, we will be launching different versions of the suit, a summer version, more colors, obviously sizes, as I mentioned earlier. So yeah, we are planning to grow the brand. If you look at any company like in the billions of dollars, like Hugo Boss, at a certain point, I guess we will be having pretty much everything that they have. It just makes logical sense. However, I spend a little bit more time focusing on the technological, features that we add to those products. So we are a little bit slower to develop and launch products. But ultimately, yes, we would like to offer everything that there is to offer for menswear, always following the same idea of making things easier to maintain, better quality, at a better pricing. And yeah, that's the long-term vision for the company.
Do you ever think about retail presence or distributing into retail stores, big box stores?
So we've been approached by many stores out there, some big names and so on. Personally, I would like to stay away from those kind of distributors. I am able to better control the pricing that we offer to our clients by selling it directly to them. However, what I would like to get into potentially in the next couple of years is opening some showrooms for our brand, where people can come in and experience the product first-handedly, and then continue to order online and get it delivered to them within, a few days.
I mean, that definitely sounds like the Apple model for sure.
Yes, 100%.
Um, I know you mentioned that you want to focus a lot on leadership. Can you talk a little bit about your team and how do you see your leadership style, and how do you motivate your team to do the best?
Well, the first thing is I never call myself a boss. I don't think I'm a boss in the company. I think that the company relies on everybody to be what it is, and we are all partners. Whether it's not on paper as shareholders, we are technically all partners, and if I win, everybody wins. I think that that's very important. I think I've chosen the other leaders in the company very well, and I trust them blindly. I think that trust is something super important. I treat everybody, to be honest with you, I'm a little bit different in terms of my leadership, as I'm very close with specifically my leadership team, so the other managers in the company. The way we speak to each other, we're kind of like a little family. Whenever I have any kind of personal event, whether it be my daughter's birthday or whatnot, I will invite all these managers over. They've come to my house, a bunch of times. We're all very close. I think something important is to bridge the gap between personal and work, because in the end, you work with people and you spend as much time with them as you do with your family. So I think it's very important to have that kind of balance between a personal and work relationship, with people that you're seeing. And that's just me personally. So, I start my day going around the office and speaking to every manager and just speaking personal. We don't speak business the first 5-10 minutes of the day. We're always like, hey, how's your evening yesterday? How's your weekend? How are the kids? How's your husband, on a first name basis? So I think that's very important, to make the work environment more casual, and make it more fun. I mean, in the end, why are we doing all of this? Of course, making money is one of the motivations, but I think that, being happy with what you're doing should be another, right? You shouldn't be dreading going to work every day. And I make sure, to continuously, like another example is at the end of every meeting, whatever the meeting may be, I like to rate the meeting. So, how was today's meeting on a scale from 1 to 10? And if it wasn't a 10, what could we have done differently to make it a 10? So you really try to get as much feedback as you can from everybody on the team. My company is structured very simply. We essentially have 4 people and myself on the leadership team. So I have my financial girl, who's quite important. I have my marketing guy, who's the head of marketing. I have my supply chain girl, who's managing everything from development, production, inventory. I have my operations girl, so she's doing all the shipping, the customer service, everything of that kind. And then I have, is that everyone? 1, 2, 3. Oh yes, that's it. That's the 4. Yeah. That's the 4 people. I spent a lot of time also reading and improving my skill set. So I'm continuously buying into all kinds of mastermind chats, into all kinds of books, courses, and so on. I think that is one of the main roles of a CEO and a leader, is that, you need to be the one like setting whatever amount of time you have a week, but you need to set it in your calendar, whether it's 2, 3, 4 hours a week, learning and improving your skill sets as a leader. Right now, by the way, just to give a little tips to the viewers over there, I am reading a book called The Great CEO Within. It's by Matt Mochary, I believe his name is. So again, this was a book that I was recommended by another CEO. And like I said, I take part in a lot of mastermind chats. So like Ecom Fuel, I forget, Foxwell, Geek Hub. There's a bunch of these kind of mastermind group chats that you can shoot the shit with other CEOs. And of course, I make sure to surround myself with other entrepreneurs to, in very different industries, but just to kind of go back and forth on, how we manage things, and always trying to pick people's brain to optimize and better whatever it is you do. Because I think that that's the most important, as a company grows, you yourself as an individual should grow as well as your team. So, it's all like a symbiotic relationship between it all.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of entrepreneurs also have like specific mentors that they speak with, but I guess talking with other entrepreneurs is probably equally helpful, and you probably get new ideas from that also. In every entrepreneur journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned, failures. Can you share maybe, you know, some of the mistakes, the top mistake that comes to your mind that you may have made, or failure, or a setback that you encountered in building this business? What did you learn from it, and what can other entrepreneurs learn from your mistakes?
Yeah, so you're saying that, and I guess the first thing that comes to mind when you ask that question would have to be financials. And that's why I highlighted that, I think, a couple times in this meeting.
Yeah.
I didn't have as much of a grip on our financials, and specifically our cash flow at a certain point during the business, because we had an explosive growth at the beginning that plateaued and then rose again. So it was kind of like a scale like this, right? And because of that, I was kind of naive and thinking that the growth would just be continual in an upward trend. So I didn't spend as much time involved in the financials as I do today. And we did have some financial issues. This was years ago, but during the COVID years, right before leading to the COVID years, so 2019, 2020, because I didn't have my pulse as much on the financials. And this is why I keep highlighting, I think that's one of the most important thing that a CEO should be involved in is the financial department, specifically cash flow and profitability, which is more important than growth, right? So if I had just one recommendation based on my personal failures, I would say, spend as much time as you can overseeing your financials, your bank account, your profitability, cutting costs, or improving profitability as a whole. I think that would be the area I would focus on the most based on my personal failures.
Yeah, that the cash flow issue, it's like so many entrepreneurs that I've spoken with, it keeps on coming up again and again. So it's definitely one of the most important things. Now I'm going to move on to our rapid fire segment. In this segment, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions, and you have to answer them maybe in a word or a sentence or so. The first one I was going to ask you is one book recommendation. I know you already mentioned one, The Great CEO.
The Great CEO Within, yeah, The Great CEO Within. Another one would be Strategize. Great book to coming up with a relevant product.
Awesome. An innovative product idea or trend in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about?
Wow. There are so many, to be honest with you. To be honest, if I'm going to go with e-commerce, does it have to be e-commerce specifically, or can it be anything online?
It could be anything. Retail, tech.
I'm into Apple. I'm a big fan of Apple and what they do, and I continue to be very excited with all the products they create, and more importantly, the marketing behind those products.
Okay, so you study their marketing.
I study everything of Apple. I break them down and I try to apply as much as I can from them.
Okay, nice. Not are you a fan of Elon Musk also, or no?
As an individual, yes. In terms of the product, I think he has some good ideas. I don't think his product is the best out there. It is definitely not number one. I'm in China. I see all the electric vehicles that are being made here, and I do not believe that he makes the best electric vehicle. But I think that he's a visionary and that he adds a lot of value to the world. So I do appreciate him as a person. But I think there's room for improvement. I think it's overinflated, by the way, his stocks and all of that. Even though he has become, Model Y, I believe last year during one of the quarters was the most sold car. I just don't think it is the best product out there.
A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend, or a productivity tip?
Yes, 100% in terms of tools. I use Things. Things is my to-do list. I plan all my to-do lists on Friday. to start my next week right and fresh. And then I use Notion as well, which is our note-taking app, as well as kind of our wiki, company wiki, SOPs, whatever you want to call it. These are two very important tools. And then Slack. Slack doesn't really matter. I think you can use any kind of communication platform. It's not that Slack's the best. It's just the one that we happen to use. But I think that Things and Notion are two great tools that we use every day.
Okay. Another startup or business, it could be in e-commerce, retail, or tech, that you think is currently doing great things. So besides Apple, any other startup or business that you think is doing great things?
I think Rise is a friend of ours, someone I know. So Rise Foods, so they're doing mushroom coffee. I like what he's doing. I'm also trying to always stay away from as many, things like caffeine and nicotine and so on. And he's basically, reinventing the way we look at coffee by drinking coffee made of mushrooms and giving you the same energy. So I think that's a pretty interesting business model. I think he's grown into over $100 million in revenue. So I think that he's doing a great job there.
Wow, really interesting. I'll check that out. A peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to, or someone who inspires you?
So I have my mentor who you spoke of earlier. So Iran, he's the CEO, or sorry, the creative director, the CDO of Macaj. So he's been a great source of knowledge and support in the beginning. And then I would say also my brother, Reuven, who runs that trading company. So he's also been a mentor of mine and a great supporter, of course. He's a partner in my company. So those are the two that come to mind.
Final question. Best business advice you ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs? Besides
Don't
the cash
take things
flow.
personally.
Okay.
Don't take things personally. It's just business. I have one thing that I apply in my life, which is when I come home, I try as much as I can to forget everything that's happened during my day at work. And I try to separate myself from the business. And I'm very good at doing that. I can really, for me, it's like a light switch, the on and off button from the CEO hat and the father hat. I'm quite good. Take a break. Don't overwork yourself. I make a point of Saturday, one day is a completely turned off day, except some light slacking. If I have some staff writing me a little message and it's just like a text message style communication, that's fine. But I really try to separate myself from work once a week and realize that in the end, it's just all a big game, right? All of this is life is, and you got to have fun and you can't take things too seriously. I mean, of course, you do have responsibilities, but you shouldn't go overboard and have that kind of work personal balance.
Definitely. I mean, life is very short, and you definitely have to enjoy it while working and doing things and making a living. So definitely a great message.
75 years. Remember 75 years, 75 winters, 75 springs, 75 summers, 75 autumns. When you look at it that way, it's not that long.
Yeah, I mean, some people now are beginning to say, with this whole AI revolution and the whole revolution in drug and genetics and everything, that human lifespan will very soon going to start increasing and people will live longer and so forth. So yeah, let's hope it happens. I mean, I wouldn't want to live forever, but yeah, if we can get more time, then that's definitely a good thing. Well,
Sure.
Max, those were all the questions that I had. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your story, sharing your inspirational story, sharing your business advice, your successes and failures. Yeah, really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for joining me today at Tripp. Really appreciate it.
Likewise, Sushant, it was a pleasure meeting you, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Definitely.